Here we have the Audi A5. I think it's fair to say that Audis in general look very similar, and I think this one particular model tends to stem away from the general appearance of the Audis. It certainly looks a little bit different, and I think it's a better shape. Now let's start with the basics. The wing mirrors are very large. We like that. We like to see where we've been. Plenty of vision through there, and they're at a good location. They're not too low and they're not too near to the driver. Now the rear view vision, although it is slightly obstructed by the headrests, you do see a fair bit out the back. I think even with two people in the back it wouldn't be that much different. What is interesting about the rear view vision is the fact that it's such a small and narrow window. It tends to remind me of the background out of car scenes in old movies. It looks almost animated. Now the interior of the car, very stylish, and it's got a good quality feel to it. None of this horrible, gnarly, cheesy plastic that we're coming across now in so many cars. The general styling is very nice indeed. The instrument clusters are very easy to read. No obstruction from the steering wheel at all, which is always a bonus because that keeps popping up over and over and over again in cars. Steering wheel nice and chunky, good grip, good quality feel to it throughout this car. The center console here is pretty basically laid out. Once you familiarise yourself with it, I'm pretty sure I could operate almost everything here without taking my eyes off the road. Although yet again we go back to the heating controls of the car, and rather than having the dial to adjust the speed and the speed of the fan, we're relying on these buttons, which at the end of the day makes it slower, makes it more fiddly, and I personally prefer the older method with the turn dials. Now you've got the 6-speed manual, very short shift. It's a very positive change as well, very quick change, very tight and tidy. Now the brakes are feeling very smooth, but I will do a bigger brake test in a moment. Bit of torque steer pulling away then. It's not the best thing to have, but I suppose it's the concessions you've got to put up with a front wheel drive. Now this car is very steady. It doesn't by no means a fast Audi. It does remind me a little bit of the 2-litre 3 Series at the moment, because although it's not what I would call a road rocket, it still produces a nice delivery of power, and I think that's helped along immensely by the 6 gears and the gear ratio of the actual gearbox itself. I mean, even though it's not a torquey car, the balance with the gears does enable the car to have a fantastic delivery and a very smooth ride. Everything on this car is very tight. But there's one thing that's becoming very apparent, and that's the steering. Although it's responsive and you do feel like you're connecting to the tyres and the road rather than that anaesthetised feeling from the power steering, there is quite a vagueness in the steering wheel, and this car hasn't done 15,000 miles yet, so I can't attribute that to worn bushes or a steering box. But as I play with the steering wheel now, I'm actually able to move it a considerable amount before the wheels follow. And I wonder why that is the case, because it seems to pop up in so many cars. And the only car that doesn't really seem to exaggerate that vagueness is the BMWs, the current BMWs. Even some Mercedes have it. So if you're thinking about buying one of these, I would pay particular attention to the steering, because I think that could be an issue to some people, especially if they want something which is more of an enthusiastic drive. Now, as we're coming up to a bit more speed, what I like to do with the car is give the steering a little bit of a wobble, a little bit of a wiggle. The purpose being, it gives me an idea how the car's going to behave at speed, or if I had to do an emergency manoeuvre. And I would have to say this car doesn't roll around much at all. But what it does do is it meanders, and I think that would contribute to a better level of control at speed, especially if you had to do an emergency swerve. The car doesn't roll at all. It's not top heavy, it's very low centre point of balance. and this car loves the corners. It just goes around the corners like it's on tram lines. It really is a very, very good ride, and the more I drive this car, the more I come to appreciate just how brilliantly engineered it is. Now the brakes are silky smooth. There's absolutely no grabbing at all. I have an ability to apply a gradual pressure and control the amount of braking with the finest level of accuracy. I can feel all the calipers working in perfect synchronization, and it is a fantastic braking system. Now I'm going to do a 0 to 60 test. The interior of the car is very good. The leather seats at first glance did look possibly a bit under quality, but I think it might just be the dull shade of the car. Right, 0 to 60 test, 3, 2, 1. 60. There was quite a bit of front wheel spin there, and the road conditions are dry, so I wasn't too impressed. Now I'm going to do a brake test now. I'm not going to do a emergency stop. An emergency stop, I'm going to be doing a very firm brake. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, it's just as I thought. The brakes do deliver a fantastic stopping mechanism. In fact, the brakes on this feel like they're something of an aircraft or something. They really are superb. Mercedes, BMW and Audi braking system on them is 100%. It's faultless. Now this is quite an interesting car to review because I've had a lot of Audis this year, and normally the A5 is a very fast, sporty car. Okay, this one has got a sporty feel to it, but it has got vague steering, and I think enthusiastic drivers will not like that. The engine is not fast, however it is able to trot along on the motorway at speed very comfortably, and it doesn't strain to get up to speed at all, which a lot of underpowered cars do. But I think that's the key word. I think this car is underpowered, and it could do with some more boot. But the general build quality of this car is fantastic, and I mean that most sincerely. It really is. It's a fantastically built car. It's so well screwed together. I can't hear anything rattling. Everything feels like it's made out of high quality produce. Even the plastic in the car feels good. It's a very genuinely good car, this, and I believe anybody thinking about buying one, the moment you get behind the wheel of a car like this, you're going to be sold. But personally, I would say go for a bigger engine, and if you are going to go for this engine size, then stick with a manual, because I think you might find the automatic gearbox makes this car a less enjoyable ride, because you are going to lose a lot of power. So if you're going to go for the automatic, I'd go for the 3 litre, especially the diesel upwards. But you know, credit's due where credit's due. This is an excellent car, and if I had to give it a score out of 10, it would certainly be around the 8 mark.